The first episode that we're going to be talking about today is Ties of Blood and Water. So this is a pretty intense episode, but very good. It's essentially a sequel to the third season's Second Skin with Temik Gamor, who's the Cardassian guy who thought that Kira was his daughter. This is where he's dying, and he, as part of tradition, it goes to his family and basically absolves himself of all of his secrets. And so he's dying and wants to go to talk to Kira, and all the tears. We were saying, my partner and I were saying while we were watching it, like, it feels like the writer, whoever wrote this episode, was dealing with the death of a parent at the time, because it's pretty intense with that. So yeah,
that's a really good observation. Yeah, I would definitely think that could be the case.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot of flashbacks to sort of Kira's loss of her father initially, and then it's not all like, again, great kind of sad poeticness. It's frustrating and painful, and Kira just doesn't want to deal with it. So, yeah, very curious how you like this one, because I remember you liked the Second Skin episode with Gamora.
Well, yeah, when it was revealed that she wasn't actually a Cardassian.
Right.
And then I was okay with that episode. But that was an intense episode. But I liked him. I liked Kira. I liked a lot of the character development from that. And seeing her with him at the beginning of this episode was just so warm. I mean, she loved him and like thought of him as a father in a way, and he clearly thought of her as a daughter. And that, like, their relationship at the beginning was, it was clear they had kept in touch, and just their sincere enjoyment of each other's company was so lovely to see. And then as it goes on, it gets a little more intense with her, like you said, not wanting to deal with another death of a father figure.
Yeah.
And, I think I love the episode from just a arc standpoint. I think it was really important for Kira to sort of go through this, as painful as it was to watch her have to deal with it. But
well, and what's impressive, I think, with this one too, is they managed to still get some very realistic loss, like some more realistic emotional closure for Kira regarding the Bajoran resistance, where like she kind of shut down with what he had been involved in, and then Cisco kind of is like, he was like 17 at the time, and like,
yeah,
and then remembering how young she was when she lost her dad, and all of those threads really push it. And Bahana mentioned they felt it was some of Nana's best acting in the whole series.
Yeah, for sure. Because she sort of finally comes to the realization that sort of we all do this. We all put on like fronts of being angry about something else because we don't want to deal with the real underlying emotions. And when she gets to that point, it's just really beautiful.
Yeah, it really is.
When she goes to see him.
So one thing I did want to talk about at the end of the episode is when our favorite Gul Dukat is, he's very, like, he's trying to reframe the politics of the situation given what Gamora is telling Kira, who's like a resistance, like she's not a Cardassian, and he's like, yo dude, just no, not okay, we don't need that stuff getting out. And then he basically like refactors his death and says that on his deathbed he had this like final change of heart to support the Cardassian government.
That's right.
Complete
like, and he's saying it like he's okay. So I don't like Dukat anymore, but he is an amazing villain. I mean, the way he communicates, like, the way he's like talking to Sisto, like, boy, it's a shame that he said this and this, and Sisko's like, well, no, he didn't. Dukat's like, yeah, yes, he did. Like that stuff is just, those sorts of exchanges are so fun to watch. Like,
yes. Indeed. Oh, hi, Jewel. Yeah, hey, Andy. Yeah, there's definitely a lot there. Oh, we got Astro in here too. Everyone's here today. This is a fabulous day.
Hi, everyone. I can't see you, but hi.
It's all right. It'll be worth it at the end, I promise.
Oh, yeah, it will be.
Yeah, DS9er brought up the quote, "I promise you, Ducat, I will make you pay for all of this one day." Ducat, maybe, but not today. Dun, dun, dun. All right, the last thing on this episode, we got to talk about Wei-Yun, because we love Wei-Yun. And apparently, and I don't know, I mean, we'll talk about this, because I do want to hear your opinion on this. I freaking love Wei-Yun. And Todd is right on what I was about to say. They basically, like, wrote in the canon that Vorta can be cloned because Wei-Yun was so good and they wanted Jeffrey Combs back. Like, we love him.
That's awesome.
And I'm curious, we have a couple episodes in this set with Wei-Yun, but this is only the second time. I'm curious how you feel about him.
Yeah. Well, first, all I wrote in my notes was for this episode was like, clones! Exclamation point for that part. But yeah, this episode didn't really like do a lot for me, but the later ones in this set that we have, I was like, okay, I get it. He's really cool.
Yeah. I think too, one thing I learned, and I think it was in this episode when he's back, is, you know, I'm rewatching these, so I'll have it on in the background while I'm doing other stuff sometimes. Sure. And I've learned, like, anytime Wei-Yun is in a scene, don't be folding clothes. Like, don't be, because he gives so many background side reactions to stuff where he's just like intently listening to the conversation and reacting to everything that's going on in such a entertaining way. Like, you can't look away. He's so good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it.
Awesome. All right. Any last things on this one?
No, we can move on.
All right. So the next one is Ferengi love songs. This is where Quark goes to visit his mother on his home planet and finds that she's now hooking up with the Grand Nagus.
Brilliant.
And, oh, so good. Grand Nagus is getting older, and he doesn't have as much of a grip on the political machinations of Ferengi like he used to, and so she's been essentially his advisor. And, we get our good friend Brunch FCA popping out of closets. So good.
There was so much brilliant absurdity in this episode. It was so entertaining. It was like, why is he in his closet? This is hilarious.
He pops out of the closet. It's so great. Yeah, and Christoph brought up the point. Renee Aubergenois, Odo, directed this episode as well.
Cool.
So funny. I just love... I love the interactions that Quark has with Mugi, where he's not entirely bought onto her way of doing things, but at the same time, he can't argue with it.
Yeah, exactly. He's got that innate, like, mom can, like, she can, like, send me to my room or something. Yeah. It's so sweet. This was such a fun episode. I just, like, I don't know. It's just so fun to watch. And the way that Quark, like, he doesn't agree with how his mom's doing things, but he's sort of, like, mildly impressed, too.
Right.
That she's, like, basically Macbething the Lady Macbething, the Grand Nagus. It's like, you're the one behind running this entire planet.
She's like, yeah, I have been for a really long time. Stop judging me. We got to talk about the action figures as well. Plays with his action figures and his mom berates him for taking it out of the packaging.
Yeah, that was so funny. If you'd kept it in the box, and yeah,
they'd be worth more. Yeah, I love it, and we just get so many. I mean, it's just pure entertainment, and you get. I think the best moments are just so comically timed, and we've got to give, likely, Renee Aubergenois credit for that. Like, the closet door opening and the Brunch FCA line delivery is so comedically perfect. Like, it makes you howl with laughter every single time.
seriously. Just fantastic. What, let's see, what else happens? I don't even know.
It's
just that moment.
Just a fully entertaining episode.
Yeah.
Which is good because we need that because there's just lots of sadness that is going on around this. The sort of B plot in this is still Ferengi based, which is the Ferengi love song name, but this is where Rom and Lita are sort of finding their balance with stuff right now.
Yeah, is this the one where Rom is talking to O'Brien a lot about like he what he expects from Lita or something?
Yeah, she basically refuses to sign a prenup. And as Todd mentioned, it's pretty impressive for 1997. And he basically realizes that she's more important to him than everything. And and donates all of his money to charity. And they get married. Yeah. Well, the wedding is back on. They'll get married later. But it is adorable. And yes, Cherubel said, if I recall, aren't the action figures that Quark plays with the TNG Ferengi uniforms from...
Are they?
Yeah, they
That's
are.
Awesome.
Yeah, DS9 fan remembered. From the first episode of the Ferengi. That's so good.
That's such a good Easter egg.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Yeah, no, because I do remember the scenes between Rom and O'Brien are adorable in this episode.
Yeah.
Asking for advice and what's worth it and what's not, and giving up the cultural expectations like they'll come to later. But yes, just a hilarious episode.
Such a good Quark episode.
Yes, so good. All right, any other? Just Brunt FCA.
Just Brunt FCA.
Good. All right. We got a lot to talk about this next one. This is Soldiers of the Empire. So this is where Martok basically takes command of a ship for the first time in a very long time since he's been in a Jem'Hadar prison. And basically the crew is completely demoralized. They've lost all fire. They have no desire to continue being. It's a tough situation to come into. And Martok himself is struggling with not wanting his first, he's a little bit, I guess, gun shy is probably the best word for that. And he doesn't want to screw up, so he's being a little more cautious, which isn't helping their mental state. Worf and Dax are on the ship as well, trying to mediate the two situations. And, Cherubel and I agree. Martok is love. We love Martok. So
we do. We really do.
Oh, yay, good. And Laura
100%.
Yay. So and Laura also mentioned Dax is a badass in this episode. So I am, now that we have the real Martok here, I am curious what you thought about this, and obviously we like Martok.
We do. This was a really, really good Klingon episode. I really enjoyed this because anytime I can get a little bit more to the Klingons than just honor.
honor. I demand honor. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And there was a lot of that here, but it was more, there was more nuance to what these characters were going through, and I really enjoyed that. And I the fact that Martok, like you say, was gun shy, basically not wanting to run into the heat of battle, and all the other Klingons are like, huh? Does not compute. Yeah. But he has to deal with that, and then Worf challenging him, and then I think throwing the fight, right? Worf, lets him win, and essentially, so he can get that status back. And there was a lot about these characters and being in the ship, confined there, and getting a little bit more underneath what that's like on the Klingon ship was really cool.
We got to talk about the Klingon pirate chant.
Oh my God, so cool.
So cool.
So awesome.
So good.
I know. Worf just starts pounding on the thing, and it's yeah, that's awesome.
Chills. I love it. It's moments like that where I'm just like, this is why I love Klingons. This is why it's like you get that it is a whole culture in and of itself, and we'll talk about that a little bit in the Children of Time episode as well. But I think it's great to see it is very much an underdog. Like, they're not that great. They aren't, right. This crew is they've got some issues, Dax brings the blood wine on, and one of them has too much to drink and is picking fights, and it's pretty fabulous. So,
yeah, Jadzia and Dax is so cool. She's like quickly becoming one of my favorite characters.
Awesome. Yeah, she's so great, and just how she handles the Klingons when she gets there. She's just like, she knows what's up. She knows the culture. She's like, yeah, I remember this. And what I love too, the scene where Worf is going to help Martok, and Bashir comes in, or Kira comes in with the assignments for Bashir and O'Brien and herself to cover his stuff, like what he was doing. And Jadzia is like, it sucks on a Klingon ship, right? He's not going to Risa. Like, this is no picnic for Worf. And Bashir's like, yeah, but I don't want to do the intelligence stuff. And I love how he was like, the worst thing about being an intelligence officer is I can't talk to anyone about it. I feel you, bro.
Yeah. But then doesn't he kind of like enjoys that when he's like talking to O'Brien, he's like, yeah, but I can't tell you.
Yeah, exactly. It goes right to his head.
Yeah.
So great. It's so fabulous. Yeah, I love, you mentioned this as well, when Worf essentially realizes how to fix the situation, which is to challenge him, let him win. I mean, even though he does get stabbed, like and they have that moment, he's like, would you have actually killed me? And he's like, refuse to confirm or deny. But he is super grateful for how Worf handled that situation, because it lit the fire in him as well as everyone else.
I did like they like Jadzia basically planted that seed at the very beginning of the episode when she's, I think, describing to them about Klingon ships and hierarchy, and she's like like, exposition.
Yeah. This will come back.
Let me just like explain something that you will need to know in the middle of this episode.
Yeah.
Like, you have to challenge and kill somebody to replace them, and blah, blah.
They did a great job with that. I just felt, it was so good. And again, for one of these one-off episodes, it's so hard to make yourself care about characters who you haven't met yet. And by the end, like, I don't want to hang out with those guys, but I was really glad that they all kind of got their fire back and felt like they could accomplish something.
Absolutely. Yeah. Same here.
And then the final big moment in this episode is where Martok asks Worf to be part of the House of Martok.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Oh my god. That was so sweet. And like, so affirming for Worf to just be like, yes. Yes, I'll join your house.
I know. It was so sweet. And again, exposition, they set it up very well when he doesn't bring his sash onto the Klingon ship because, he doesn't have a house, and he has that House of Mog. Ellen Orchard, thank you. Yeah, it's fabulous. And
yeah, that was a beautiful moment.
That's why I have the House of Martok tattooed on my wrist.
Makes perfect sense.
Now you understand.
Now I do.
We love it. I love to see it. All right. Any other points in this episode?
I don't think so.
I can tell you one thing, though. I am going to memorize that Klingon song because that's going to be broken out at the next convention we all go to.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's true, Astro. I love Martok. I love Martok. All right. So the next episode, DS9er fan is already there. It wrecks me every time. Children of Time episode. This is where the crew of Deep Space Nine is on their way home after being in the Defiant for a very long time. They can't wait to get home. They go to investigate this planet. There's a temporal anomaly that happens, and it throws, well, we find out it's a temporal anomaly, throws them onto the planet. They crash, and they essentially find out their descendants are there, and they've been there for 200 years. And they are genetically their descendants, and essentially what happened, and we can recap this as much as possible, because I've watched this episode a lot. So what had happened originally is the shuttle had crashed, they had gone to escape, and then they hit a temporal anomaly as they were leaving the planet, and the ship threw them back in time 200 years, I think. If I have the times wrong, I think it's 200 years. And they essentially can't escape after that. And so they settle on the planet and have lots of babies with each other and await the day that crew comes. That's the inciting incident for them existing on the planet in the first place. Yeah, so they know it's coming because that was the inciting incident for them. I did not write down the name of the dude, so let me look that up real quick. The Dax symbiont.
Yeah, basically, that's what kind of threw me a little bit is Dax is the only one who actually remembers what happened clearly, right? Like the rest of the descendants, like 200 years is a long ass time.
And Odo.
Okay, true. Yeah. So they So luckily they had them there to sort of remember that as it actually happened, as opposed to like oral history that's passed down for 200 years. Right. Yeah. So I thought that was cool that they had Dax and Odo there for that part of it, that part of the story. But yeah, this was a weird episode.
Yeah, it's intense. And so yeah, Yedrin, Dax, and Laura, it's just lots of credit for a early morning pun. Oldo. We have Oldo and Odo. Thank you.
Cheers to that. Hands down.
That's the new one.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so obviously it's got some timey-wimey stuff that is a little bit headache-inducing, and you try not to think about it too much. But essentially they try to figure out how they can keep this from happening, because now they exist there, and so they can try to change the history, but then they have that ethical implication of, like, if they change it and they do escape and get back to Deep Space Nine, then the whole civilization will cease to exist, which now is like 8,000 people. Mm-hmm. And Kira had initially died. Some of the sort of character backstory. Kira initially died in the crash. O'Brien was like the last person. He kept holding out, which breaks my heart through that whole thing. And I think it's a great most of the people in the chat, Christoph and some of the other people here just are like, this is a great episode. I can't watch it because it's too hard to watch. It's too stressful. It's too emotional. Yedrin basically, tries to pull a Thomas Riker with the crew and is like, hey, if you try this, then like one copy will crash and one copy will carry on and no one will be the wiser and it'll be totally fine. And it's okay. So with all of that clear, curious what your thoughts on this episode are. Like, would you watch it again, or was this a flush it?
I don't think I would. I think I agree with everyone in the chat. Like one and done. And I was sort of like, at first, excited we were going to get an episode that's like away from the station and away from all the main plot DS9 stuff, and then as it started going on, I was like, this is not what I wanted.
This is stressful.
Yeah, no thank you. Yeah, it was just tough, like decisions they have to make. Like, and then there was all the time stuff that I kept trying to like, as the episode's going, the other part of my brain is like, wait, so what happened?
Yeah.
200 years and they're here and then they're going to go back 200 years again. And then, yeah, that was just a lot. But I did love in the cold open. Oh, sorry, that's my washer.
No worries. we got lives. We got lives.
Yeah.
We're good. Yeah.
The cold open was so funny to me because a lot of like the whole Starfleet thing is we must explore, every single shiny object that we see. And I mean, that used to frustrate me with Janeway. Like I would be like the crew who'd be like, wait, we're gonna tack another year onto our journey because we want to explore some planet that's gonna explode and we'll never see that ever again. And they're all like, yay, learning, science, this is what we do. And most people are kind of on board with that, which always seemed a little weird to me.
It was a science vessel. That's fine.
Yeah, okay. Fine.
People can go back and watch our discussions about that.
But this one, like in the beginning, I kind of liked how there was some fatigue and like O'Brien and everyone else, they just kind of want to go home and they really don't want to investigate this anomaly. And Jadzia is like the one person in the class that makes people do extra homework.
Represent Jadzia. She's a science officer.
But she's like not quite picking up that like maybe we could skip this one. I don't know. It's I just thought that was kind of amusing because
that's very funny. Yeah. That's really funny. So let's talk about Oldo, which is now his name, outing young Odo to Kira.
Yeah.
Big moment, big deal. I personally love it because I can't pinpoint at which time during my initial DS9 watch I became on board with the Odo Kira ship. But having it now, it's very satisfying to see this episode. And frankly, I think Odo looks very charming as Oldo. So
Agree. Yeah. I like Oldo a little better than Odo, to be honest. And I mean, the Kira Odo thing, I think I'm just really ambivalent about it, to be honest. It's not really my jam. Okay. I get it, but I don't care
that's
as much. So it didn't really hit me as like, it didn't really hit me emotionally that much. I liked that it was an impetus for it to move forward. Yeah. And that she knows is, I think, good for both of them. But yeah, I liked that it was Odo that did the ship thing instead of Dax.
Me too. I like, because everyone sort of thought that it was Dax had a change of heart. But the fact, and I think what it comes down to is that Odo, and we can discuss that because DS9 fan makes a good point. Should he have doomed an entire colony for her? Maybe not. But, the fact, though, that I think he realized, like, it gave him closure. Because the whole point was that he regretted for hundreds of years at this point, never telling Kira how he felt about her. Right. So now he had the chance to get that closure, but then he realized that it wasn't enough because she still died and he never got to live his life with her. So having that opportunity for young Odo to go off and be able to experience that with Kira, he's like, I've done my job.
Yeah. Although that reminds me, I had forgotten a little bit about that. And at first it did seem kind of like a selfish decision, and I wasn't sure what to think about that. When it was revealed that he did it instead of Dax, because it's sort of like this was premeditated for 200 years in a way. And like, I mean, I get it and it's interesting, but it was a little, he's been thinking about that for a long time.
Yeah. Baka makes a good point. If anyone were to do that, Odo would do it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he loves
Right.
Kira so much, and
Yes.
oh, the feelings. Yeah, so personally, because of the nature of what I do, I've watched this episode a lot because it's one of like classic time travel predestination type storyline. Like they have to crash in order to have that happen so they can learn the thing so then they can go. And it will give you a headache, and I don't recommend people thinking about it too much because you will just end up crying and have a stress headache. But I will say though, the more I've watched this because of that, like I appreciate this episode a lot more because I go into it knowing what decisions that they have to make. And then seeing it unfold, I think it does in a very beautiful narrative way that is, as a one-off episode, is very good, even though it's very hard to watch. And can we appreciate Quark the math professor?
Yes! That was so cute.
So good.
I loved it.
So great. Yeah, we love it. Oh, thank you. I got a hydrate reminder. Yes. So last thing I wanted to mention on this one was I love the Klingon aspect that I mean, for me, it was ripe for like cosplay and fandom because it very much is sending that message that it's about a state of mind, you know, and that they have all these people who built this culture around it. And I do really like that.
That's a really, really good point. I hadn't thought of it like that. And that make, because I was sort of looking at them going, are they just pretending to be Klingons? Like, what is this about? Right. But you make a really good point that it's not like necessarily DNA all the time. It's a complete state of mind. And I like that. I like that a lot.
I demand honor. All right.
honor. I demand honor.
Exactly. All right. Ready for the next one?
Yeah.
All right. Next one is Blaze of Glory. This basically closes out the Eddington story. That's it.
Yes.
It's funny because when we do these, one thing I personally started trying to do was pull out themes of episodes. And DS9 is great because they do all have very clear themes. And even if it's just kind of one summary of like dealing with death and loss. This had, I was scraping the barrel for a theme in this one because I think they were just like, we got to close out the Eddington storyline. And there was not much to it, substance-wise.
Okay, I'm kind of glad to hear that corroborated because I was watching this like literally like falling asleep.
Yeah.
And it also gave Eddington like a tidy bow when I was like, no.
He deserved to suffer more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for people who don't remember, this is essentially they intercept a message that was intended for Eddington that said that we have the weapons and, you know, we need your help.
Or missiles have been launched or something.
Yeah. Right? And so
serious thing. They
go pull him out and essentially go try to infiltrate this. There's some good action to it. You know, the Jem'Hadar are on the ship and the other Maquis are hiding, and it's okay, but yeah, it's just not as satisfying. What is satisfying about this episode, however, is Nog learning how to deal with Klingons.
Yes, and I totally forgot that was in this episode. Like, you had that in the notes. I was like, was that this episode? Gosh. I thought that was a different one. But yeah, that was so cool. And I love that it worked too. I mean, and Jake was like, dude, don't, bro. We're gonna get,
you're gonna die.
Halt, stop, abort. And Nog just marches right up to him and does his thing. And Martok's like,
very well.
It's just perfect. I love it.
To be fair, when he first had this idea where Sisko talked to him about it, and he said, have you tried discussing this with the Klingons? Like, have you tried treating them like Klingons? Martok walks into the office to talk to Sisko, and Nog, like, stands up, and Sisko's
it's ready.
Like, not right now.
Not now.
Bad timing.
Oh, God. God, can I just say I love Nog so much. Like with the Starfleet, I just love how dedicated he is and how he's doing such a good job. I think I mentioned this before. I think earlier this season, where I honestly had expected him to fail. I didn't think he was gonna. I thought he was gonna make some Ferengi type mistakes, and in Starfleet. And I just love how he's doing it. Mm-hmm. He's doing a thing. It's so awesome.
It really is. He's so good at it, and like a little bit overcorrected. And like,
oh yes, yes.
He can't let some stuff go. Also, hi Jedi, he agrees that we love Nog. Yes,
we do.
And there's a discussion in the chat about Maki versus Marquis, and I agree. That pronunciation thing screwed me up so much when I was originally watching this. That is Maquis, not Marquis. Maki. It's very hard to say. Anyway, we're all
Maki versus Marquis?
Yeah. On the same page.
Who said?
In terms of typing it out in the chat.
Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, I love that, like Nog he's just at a classic point, I think, that a lot of people can relate to, of when you start to get some authority, you start to get the rules. He's in like that pure teenage college syndrome of like, but they need to be doing it right. Like I need to tell them they're doing this wrong. You're like, dude, bro, like pick your battles.
Yeah. There's a lot of, and there's a black and white sort of perspective on things. And as you get older, you're sort of like, certain things just don't bother you as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Klingons being rambunctious in a bar. You're gonna have to let that go.
I was like, they're in our spot. They're loitering.
They're loitering.
Like they're literally just standing having a conversation.
Oh god, like, so great. So great.
I was so worried for him when he walked up to him because of that. Like But then Martok just like gives him that respect. It's so great.
So great. Yeah, we love it. So that aspect is a good one of this episode.
That was the best part of this episode.
Agreed. All right. Moving on. Empoc Noir. Whoa, love this episode. All right.
Oh, man.
This is the one where O'Brien leads a team to the abandoned Cardassian space station Empok Noir to salvage equipment for Deep Space Nine. He takes Nog and Garrick with him. Garrick is taken along to try to overcome the booby traps, which include 2 sleeper Cardassian soldiers that are woken up to eliminate intruders. So that's fun. And the overall theme for this one that I pulled out is what lies beneath, because it get dark real fast.
Oh, it does.
So, over to you. Dying to hear what you thought of this episode.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, they plant early on that there's this drug thing that they surmise may have either gone wrong or, and then they say what it does. Like, it amplifies your innate biases and xenophobia in Cardassians. So that was a little heavy-handed of like, oh, that's what's doing it. And is that also affecting the other crew? Like, how is it affecting humans? Are their natural biases becoming a little more pronounced and that kind of thing? So when it started happening to Garrick, I was like, okay, it's just the drug. But then like, he kills people. He kills the crew. And I was just like, Garrick, no. It was hard. It was hard to watch that. But what I did think was interesting was at the beginning, even like before they get to this abandoned station, Garrick is talking to O'Brien, like needling him about O'Brien's role in, I forget the name of the battle, but he keeps bringing up that a battle where a bunch of Cardassians were killed, and O'Brien was like a war hero, essentially, and he keeps bringing that up. And so I was like, there's something here. We've I think barely seen any Garrick and O'Brien conversations. And it just made me think like, oh, there's something that Garrick doesn't like about O'Brien here. He's clearly got some underlying stuff that he wants to, he wants to shake O'Brien up.
Yeah. He does.
So
and I think it's interesting you made such a good point about the fact that this started before they got to the station.
Right.
So DS9er said Setlik 3 was the name of the planet. Thank you. Laura wrote exactly one of the notes that I wrote, which is Garak jealous of Bashir spending time with O'Brien?
100%. 100%.
Because he's like, essentially... I mean, he says, because O'Brien's like, I'm not a soldier anymore. I'm an engineer. I don't do that stuff. And he's like, so what are you doing all the time with Bashir? Why are you and Bashir going off to play all those things together? Huh? Tell me that. And it's true.
So true.
It's so true.
Yeah.
But you're right. The pairing is really interesting in this one.
Yeah.
And one of the great things about this is I think from their discussion in that opening, not just do we get that there's some latent hostilities and that also Garak is jealous of O'Brien, but also I think he puts a line in there that is very much directed from the writers to the rest of us, which is Garak openly wondering why people are liking him.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, I don't know why everyone like wants to hang out with me all of a sudden. Like, and O'Brien is like, dude, if it makes you feel better, I'm never going to invite you over for dinner. He's like, thanks, man. That does make me feel better. And I think that they did that intentionally for this episode, that people are like, we're not supposed to like Garak. Why do you all like Garak? Let's make an episode where now we have to have a reason to remind you why you shouldn't just blindly love Garak.
Oh my gosh. I hadn't thought of that, but that makes sense.
I only thought about it when watching this with a critical eye, like this watch around. I was like, oh, I think they're trying to tell us something here, because he's messed up. And you're right, like he kills Starfleet officers. It's not great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, I guess to be fair, if you can be, like Bashir says at the end, like he was not in control of his actions, but on the same token, the drug brought out stuff that is there. Like it didn't magically make him hate these people, really.
Yeah.
So
and I think he accepts the guilt. He accepts it because and I think that scene with him and O'Brien at the end is fabulous, where he asks O'Brien to talk to the wife for him. He's like, I don't deserve to talk to her. She doesn't want to see me. I don't want to deal with that right now. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And as DS9er fan put it, sorry, writers, we still love Garak.
Yes. The episode had the unintended effect of us forgiving him for these horrible deeds.
So, other question I have, and this is for the chat as well, like, Star Trek doesn't do a lot of horror episodes, but I would say this one qualifies, and quite successfully at that. And I was curious what you thought about that.
Yeah, totally. I would say Star Trek does some horror episodes. But this definitely fit the bill. Tight quarters, all very dark, creepy sleeper agents, and then the hanging like of the crewmen like piñatas for O'Brien to walk through like a haunted house. Like that was awful.
That was the worst. That was the worst for sure. And then basically at the end of the corridor is him torturing Nog. Like, real dark. How'd you like Nog in this one? We got a couple good Nog episodes.
Oh, yes. I think just continuing on with what I was thinking in the prior episode, it just is great to see him in the fields, get some action. In the field, like he's learning, there's certain, like your Starfleet training and the rules are only going to get you so far. You have to be able to think on your feet. You have to think, differently about certain situations than any training you might have would tell you to act. So
yeah. And I think we get a good little mentorship lesson from O'Brien to Nog here, because Nog is like, but you were a hero. Like, O'Brien's like, that's not, we don't necessarily think of it that way. That's not how you walk away from war with this, and that will come back. It's really good. I also, just the last thing kind of made me laugh, because I was in that mode where you find really intense things funny. There was a line when Garrick kills the Starfleet officer, when he's like, hand me that, why do you have that coil spanner? He's like, it's not a coil spanner, it's a flux coupler, and then stabs him. That line just made me laugh in a very immature way. I feel like I need to work that into my life somehow, because it did make me laugh. All right. Okay, any final thoughts on this one?
No.
All right. How do you feel about Garrick now?
Well, I still like him.
Okay, good.
I think.
They weren't able to dissuade me, but it's a hard episode to watch for sure.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it's not like the jury's out. I think I like him. This was just a really tough way to see him acting. Yeah.
He's too good. All right. Next episode in the cards, possibly one of my favorite Deep Space Nine episodes of all time. This is where Jake is trying to acquire a baseball card of Willie Mays for his dad. And has all sorts of shenanigans on the space station along the way. Meanwhile, the B-plot, our good Kai Wynn is back, trying to consider a non-aggression pact between Bajor and the Dominion, and we get some Weyoun here, and it's just amazing. So I think this is in my top 10 Deep Space Nine episodes of all time. Just because it's that day in the life on a space station aspect that I think they do so well. Love to hear what you thought about this one.
Yeah, this was so fun. You know, I love the, lightheartedness by the end, where Sisko's like, there's now a positive feeling around the station. I wonder what happened. And it's like all these little things that Jake and Nog gather for like the teddy bear. No, it's just, there's some like absurdist humor to this in a way, but it was so fun. But the thing that I was a little annoyed about is I kept waiting for something really bad to happen with like with all this stuff that they're gathering. Like they're not stealing supplies, they're trading for them, and they're sort of getting them in little ways. But this dude, super weird dude, like with the time or the death defying the machine and
cellular regeneration entertainment chamber.
Thank you. Yeah, like he was just so off. Like there was something at first I was like, well, and then there was a moment where someone was like, who is Odo, I think. Yeah. Who is this guy? And I was like, oh wait, he's not real? Yeah. Or like Jake and Nog having some like shared psychedelic experience of this dude who doesn't actually exist. Like, so there was all that to it. And but I kept waiting for something like really bad to happen about them gathering all these supplies. And, so then by the end, when it turned out, it was just like this, like, kind of sweet, funny, he's like a snake oil guy, but he's harmless. Yeah. And then that end scene with Weyoun and him and Jake and Nog was just so fun.
Where he's bothering that he's like, why have you been talking to this guy? Because Weyoun also totally buys into this Minions of Orthodoxy, like, this conspiracy thing. And he's like, why have these youths been involved? And then Jake just like tries to legitimately explain that he's trying to get a baseball card, but Weyoun cannot comprehend that. And so he's like, talks about how Willie Mays was like this time traveling like saboteur that they're trying to investigate. And he's like, oh, okay, maybe it was just about a card. Yeah.
It was just, oh God, so funny.
So funny.
And then the guy, like, he's genuinely interested in this guy's work. He's like, oh, I have some experience in whatever we should talk. And the guy's like, starts his spiel. He's gonna, do you want to die? And Nog's like, we've already heard this. Can we go?
Yeah, that's right. Starts his whole salesman spiel. That's all right. Yeah, the soulless minions of orthodoxy. It's so good. It's so freaking funny. And it's just, I mean, they're just sent on a scavenger hunt, and we just get to see all these little snippets of life. And O'Brien just has some great lines where he's like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, can you just get this off my plate? And yeah, then you mentioned the teddy bear, like that
Lita.
Bashir needs to get back from Lita, and he talks about it like it's some sort of animal thing, and he's like, what are they doing? No, it was a teddy bear. It was like a breakup thing they've got to set back. And then I'm missing, oh god, what was the line that Nog said? It was lions. I can't think of the first one. It was lions, geigers, and bears. Oh my. And it was like they had set up the entire plot of that episode just for that line. And it was just, it was so fabulous. So fabulous.
I was actually really surprised that wasn't the title of the episode.
Yeah, that's what Aaron asked as well. Yeah, self-sealing stem bolts would have solved this in no time. Oh, he does say lions, geigers, and bears. Oh my.
I think Jake says, oh my, doesn't he? Jake like turns like close to the camera and is like, oh my.
They just lean into it. It's just fabulous.
But I would definitely enjoy watching this again, knowing that nothing bad happens.
Yeah.
Like that would make it so much better. Will make it so much better.
That's fair. Knowing it's just a pure escape episode.
Exactly.
That's funny how Deep Space Nine has completely ruined you to letting your guard down at any point.
Yeah.
And the last moment that I love was with Wayoon wondering what the noise underneath his apartment was. It was just such a...
Yeah. What is that?
I love it. Okay, last episode. Call to arms. Deep Space Nine responds to Dominion's annexation and fortification of Cardassia by deploying mines to prevent incursions. And the Dominion responds by attacking Deep Space Nine, and they abandon ship. Deep Space Nine has done.
It's done.
It's a finale. Rom gets married to Lita. Dax and Worf get engaged. Jake stays behind. Rom becomes a spy. So much to unpack.
So much here.
What'd you think?
Well, at the end of this episode, I was like, oh, that is a season finale. Like we've had some sleeper season finales like throughout all the series that we watched. This one was kind of sleeper up to the middle, and then it was like, oh my god, shit is going down. Yeah, so tons happened. That scene with Dukat and the Dominion walking toward Kira and Odo and Quark was like, because Dukat's thinking like, just like old times.
I'm back.
And Kira has to, exactly. And I'm hoping here that Dukat just gets way too cocky, because clearly he's like, I've won. This is, we're here. We've got ultimate power. Yeah. The little underdogs of Starfleet can't possibly do anything.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping he's going to make some mistakes here.
Well, I love the fact that Cisco left the baseball just to say, this isn't done. Don't get too cocky. I love it.
Totally. Yeah, that was so great.
I love the fact that Jake stayed behind.
Yeah. I was kind of sad because I'm scared for him, but I think that was a cool moment of Cisco too, getting his note and having to say, we got to keep going. Yep. Can't go back for him.
He's an adult now. He's making his own decisions.
Yeah.
Umbra said this isn't just a cliffhanger, this is falling off a cliff, and the episode ends mid-fall. It's valid.
That's a really good description, yeah.
Yeah, and on the lighter note, too, love when Rom goes up to Cisco and asks if he would marry him. He's like, no, wait, no, I meant, would you perform the ceremony? And so they got married, which is adorable.
Yeah.
And
so cute.
yeah, and he got over her abundance of clothing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was a sweet moment, too, with the shop with Garrick and... Garrick and... What was her name again?
Lita.
No, the
Zial.
Ducat's daughter, Zial. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That was sweet. And then their parting scene was really, I liked that a lot.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
He made a great speech to her about, his survival skills.
Yeah, seriously. He's like, this is what I do. This is how I survive. So I have a very funny joke to end this on, and I have to say I stole this partially from the podcast You're Wrong About, and I posted this on Twitter when they were talking about the film Newsies. But with all of this and the Zial thing, and then Rom and Lita and Dax and Worf, the question is Deep Space Nine Utopia Planitia? Because it is a ship factory.
Well done.
Thank you. I stand by this as a full description of Deep Space Nine. 100%. Yeah, because it's just fabulous. It's fabulous. So that's where we're ending. And I believe it's like a perfect 6-episode arc that is opening season 6. So
excellent.
We shall see what happens to Deep Space Nine next weekend. Thank you all for hanging out here. This was super fun. Any final thoughts, Samantha?
No, can't wait to start season 6.
Awesome. Can't wait either. All right. Well, thank you everyone for hanging out with us. And we will see you next time. All right.
Yeah.
Live long and prosper.
Bye.
Bye.